Developments and joins us live now from Houston with the latest. Brian?
Manisha, these are very anxious moments for BP officials and the National Incident Command here in Houston. At this hour, or possibly before this, they were expected to start in earnest the testing of the pressure of the well following the replacement cap installation that happened on Monday. The tension is building here among BP officials and the National Incident Commander, and I spoke with Admiral Thad Allen about that tension. How big is this day? The incident commander says these are easily some of the most critical days in the entire operation. Admiral Thad Allen says if they measure low pressure in the well for 6 hours or more, then this well is not strong enough to hold a new seal cap, and it's back to full-time use of surface containment ships to capture the oil.
The final effect of this will be an order from me to BP.
How much pressure are you feeling right now, knowing that you've got to make that call at some point and that it could determine the direction of this operation?
Well, that call will really be a reflection of all the inputs for the scientific community and all the best minds in the United States that we can get here working on this. So wherever we're at, I'll feel confident that it won't be a Thad Allen decision. It'll be a whole-of-government decision in the best interest of the country. Allen describes the atmosphere inside the BP Command Center, where hundreds of people have been working around the clock.
When that cap got put into place and it was successful, what was the atmosphere like? Were there cheers? Can you kind of give us
the video room where all this takes place is very much like a war room, except everybody's kind of a little bit more informally dressed. It's called the Hive.
Right.
And it's actually fairly quiet. A lot of people are talking. There's a lot of radio communications. They're linking with the ROV operators that are out actually on scene.
Allen says no one stood up and cheered, but there was a huge sense of optimism and relief. We got a sense of the tension in that room called the Hive, where the remotely operated vehicles are controlled during a recent visit to BP's command center.
Roger that. Roger that. Max is actually positioned for...
I had to speak in hushed tones. Inside the ROV command center, these are the lead engineers talking to the engineers on the boat who operate the ROVs, giving them the commands, seeing in real time what they're looking at. We're not really allowed to talk to these gentlemen because they're so kind of involved in what they're doing right now. Allen is careful not to be too optimistic about this new cap. Simply too much has gone wrong before. Has it taken a toll on your family? You clearly haven't seen much of you in the last several weeks.
Yeah, at this point, we had anticipated that I'd be retired, and my wife and I were planning a trip to Ireland, but that'll happen when it happens. We owe the country our best effort right now, and that's what we're all about. Now, as gut-wrenching as the operation here is at this phase, BP officials and Admiral Allen make very clear that it is the attachment of the relief wells that will be the make-or-break operation in this entire process. Right now, the closest relief well to the leaking well is several dozen feet of drilling away from the attachment point where it will go in. It is running parallel to the leaking well, about 4 feet away from it, and we won't know until late July or early August whether that will work. Manisha?
Brian, why didn't they actually try this kind of operation before? And this could have happened much earlier. I think a lot of people are bemused about that.
That's true, and that's a very commonly asked question right now. And what we're told by Admiral Allen and others here is essentially, look, we didn't know then what we know now. A lot of this they went into very blind after the spill occurred. They had not operated at depths like this. They had not tried to construct equipment like this to deal with this kind of a leak. Those first containment caps, and now this one. This one actually had to be built. It took several weeks. So that's why it really wasn't done earlier. It has been a process of learning as you go. And they just have not had the capabilities to do it before now.
So let's just talk about what happens now, the best and the worst case scenarios.
Well, there are three different scenarios for this particular replacement cap and the testing of the well. Number one, the best case scenario is that the testing is high pressure. That means that the cap is holding, that the well is holding, and that they can keep the oil basically contained. They can hold it without it getting out until the relief wells get there. That's the best case scenario. Second type of scenario is that some oil may leak out, that there may be some leaking but not a complete gusher, indicating that they would still need to do some siphoning and take some of the oil up to the containment ships at the surface. But the worst case scenario is that there could be more damage to the well, extensive damage, meaning this cap doesn't hold at all, and they're going to have to bring in many more containment vessels. They can hold as many as 4 of them up there at the surface, which can, they're optimistic about the capabilities of those 4 ships, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily will be able to capture every bit of the oil.
My goodness, 85 days and we're still counting. Brian, thanks very much for bringing us up to date on that situation there in the Gulf of Mexico.